Hey folks, Happy New Year to you. In on the northeast of the United States, it is Monday, January 24th, and it is 9 o'clock in the evening for us. Although I bet it's the morning for somebody else. And welcome to all of you. We are excited to be back. We're excited to be in a new calendar year. This is the third calendar year we've stepped into. It's craziness that this little project sustains and continues on. So we're really pleased to see everybody here and really happy to be back. I want to introduce my co-hosts, Veronica Boleski and Emma Shubin. Would the two of you like to say hi? And do we have any announcements to get us going?
Colleagues, we have a masterclass with Joan Pope coming up, not to be missed. If you did not see her segment from one of our previous VDMs, just buckle up and go ahead and watch that, and then I promise you'll want to join us. Integral Steps is always proud to get to be a co-sponsor of all of these amazing events that we do, and if you know of anyone who needs a little assistance for scholarship, we would love to help them out. So that's always my little soundbite that I get to do, but it still remains true in the new year, and we want to bring some new friends into our beautiful world, and they don't want to miss Joan. She's a living legend. So I'll pass it to Veronica.
If you haven't seen the Joan Pope video in its entirety, there's a two-minute clip that I just pulled out last week to put in the newsletter where she talks about the operatic deaths of children who are pretending to be rotting potatoes in the Irish potato famine, and like she doesn't even like it's just amazing. It's amazing, like the story she tells and the like joy and creativity that she shares just through a Zoom call, like even in a 2-minute excerpt, and you're like, oh my gosh, how can I bring some of this like joyful connection between all these different parts of our world? How can I bring that into my classes? So it'll be really fun. And I'm also just happy to see everybody. It's been a while. It's been like 2 months. So yeah, welcome back, everybody.
It's nice to have the little break and now to be back. I feel refreshed and very excited to be back with this community. Veronica posted in the chat an agenda for us, which then I immediately ignored. So I've already messed things up this evening. Our tradition is that we normally start off with a little meet and greet. And so I'm gonna ask you all to jump. Let's just go for the size that we are right now. Let's just go to 2 breakout rooms really quickly. All we do at the breakout room for just 3 minutes here is, please, if you're so willing, to introduce yourself. Let us know where you're located and who do you teach. Or if you're not actively teaching, who might you teach or who could you teach? Any of those good answers would be great. And then I'll call you back before you have a chance to finish. It's always a little shorter than you think. So here's our breakout rooms. When you get there, greet everyone and introduce yourself. Where are you from? Who do you teach? I'll call you back in a couple.
So rude, Steven. Cut us off.
Isn't that funny? I don't know. I bet there's somebody out there, maybe in this room, who's really frustrated with that pacing. I have no idea where you're at in your conversation. I just waited for 3.5 minutes and then bring you back. But I always feel like that there really is something to both feeling the pressure of wanting to get some things in and wishing you had more time with those people. And I always fully trust, and I fully trust that every time we come back from that, everybody in the room wishes they had a little more time with those people. And so I hope that encourages you to come back and to hunt those people out and search them out and actually get the end of the story. Because there's no end of the story in a breakout room here on Zoom, in the middle of this meeting. And so why pretend? Know that you're frustrated that you don't know these people well enough, and make it a point to go meet these people and hang out a little bit more. It's good to welcome you back. and to get some things going. Before we get into the content of the evening, Emma started to mention the master classes. Actually, Emma and Veronica both mentioned that Joan Pope is coming up next, which is really soon. That masterclass, oh, I had it in front of me, it's right here, is February 5, 6, depending on where you're at in the world. So it's coming up really quite soon. And we hope that you'll all register, and I know that we'll all have a grand time. Then we have our next couple masterclasses all lined up. So in March, we've invited Jack Stevenson to join us. If you are from North America, you would likely know Jack's name very well. He's a longtime diplômé, wonderful teacher who's been doing a lot of really outstanding research and publishing around Dalcroze solfège, although he is madly talented in all the branches of this work. And so we're excited to bring Jack in and introduce him to the bigger virtual Dalcroze community. And then in April is Isa de Acelerando. No, I'm saying it wrong. How do we say it?
De Alessandro, I think.
Thank you. Alessandro, thank you. Isa actually is a longtime friend of mine. She studied at Carnegie Mellon many years ago. And then, I don't know, every 4 years in Switzerland, I get the joy of going out to dinner with her, and we've just maintained a friendship for many years. She's part of Dalcroze Italy, and is a longtime teacher with them, and just a really wonderful woman. And I'm just delighted that that she agreed to come and teach a class for us that day. So you should pull out your dance card and fill it up with some master classes here for the spring. These are all really quality people and just outstanding teachers. And so I'm really excited about it. Veronica, do you want to introduce a little bit of our plan for tonight?
Yeah, so we're going to take some time to discuss 3 questions, and I'm putting them in the chat. What are some successful classroom routines you can share? How can we address students' social needs in this phase of the pandemic, understanding that the pandemic actually looks very different depending on where you are? And what tools do we bring as Dalcrozians to these 2 topics? So, you know, there might be some just kind of good general teaching ideas about like that classroom routines are good, that they start in this way or they incorporate this kind of thing. But then what is unique that we can offer as Dalcrozians to amplify or engage those students more effectively or to broaden their experience? And then similarly for addressing students' social needs, I feel as Dalcrozians, we do have quite a big arsenal of activities or approaches or principles. And as we think about what our students might need, given where they've been since March 2020 and where we're going now and kind of what they need to, just a reminder, I think, for ourselves not to forget about the human side of things, right? We all have like our goals of like, this is what they need to learn by this date, but are we also serving their social needs and yeah, what do we do as Dalcrozians to serve those?
Excellent. I'm just going to add to that there isn't just one teaching scenario right now in this country, and so for the you know, the 11 of us that are here, it's very possible there are 11 really unique ways that we're being asked or permitted to teach right now. So in some cases, maybe you're completely still on Zoom. And in another case, Ruth and I were talking about hybrid teaching just before the meeting. In some cases, you're maybe live, but you're very distant. Or in other cases, you're live in person, but you're allowed to be a little closer. Or, you know, so I just want to point out that there isn't just one scenario that we all have to address tonight. You should talk both from your own experience and what you believe maybe your future experience is going to be. And so there doesn't have to be just this one answer. It could be the answer and then just curb it by saying, well, the answer, some of the answers that are applicable would, you know, in these situations would permit this. And so I think we're gonna, the plan here is what we, Veronica and Emma and I, we call it the Super Breakout Edition. So the idea is that some of the time most of the time we invite our guests to come and share a little bit of what they've been doing. But we know there's such a richness of experience just with the people who attend, that this is our sneaky way of getting you all to contribute as well. And so 2 groups, did that size of group that we were just in seem good? I'm going to mix you up though, so that it's not the exact same group. And Veronica, how long? It's 18 after now. We need a little bit of time to share when we come back.
Maybe like 15 or 20 minutes in the super breakouts.
Yep. So we will aim for...
I'll be right back. I'm going to go get my tea.
Okay. Very important. I have my decaf chai with me tonight. What are you drinking, Nicole? Looks like it's full of leaves.
No, chamomile, but it has like stuff on the mug, not leaves.
Oh, I get it. I thought the chamomile was like floating in there and you were somehow sifting it through. Some people can do that. I can't do that.
Lemon.
All right.
I tried it.
Okay, we're going for 20 minutes. That's the plan. So what you should do is both click on the agenda that's in the chat and maybe even copy those questions, because when I send you to the breakout room, you'll lose this version of the chat, I'm pretty sure. So, but if you click on the agenda link, you'll see all of these same questions there. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, when you get there, greet your friends and get into what you get into, and then plan to come back and report. I'll catch you in just a couple. Look at that. All the smiling faces back. It's really telling, first of all, how I swear every breakout room I ever send anybody to in any of my classes, they always come back smiling. Even the grumpiest students seem to come back smiling. And then the other is that, especially with this crowd tonight, nobody came back early in either of the breakout rooms. Everybody waited to the last second till they were kicked out to come back. Unwilling to jump out anytime soon, which I think must mean that there's all sorts of good stuff going on. So we got 20 more minutes. You just had 20 minutes with your breakout room, which leaves us now exactly 20 minutes to both share a little bit of what you were getting into, and then maybe continue some of the conversation beyond what you were able to get to. So there's no big rhyme or reason here. Leslie's got a hand up. Leslie, you want to tell us a little bit of what you all were talking about?
Well, I just wanted to have a continuation from Helen, because right at the end, she talked about listening to Dalcroze on the radio, and we had heard about that. In the past. So I wanted to hear what you had to say about that.
Oh,
when she was a child. You were a child.
I was a child, and we're talking about early 1960s. That's how old I am. So we had a program called Kindergarten of the Air, and Joan Pope, in fact, told me a little bit about the background to this. They didn't call it Dalcroze, they called it Movement to Music. And as a 4-year-old, I really remember those classes well, and I would dance and sing and do all the activities in a room all by myself. My mum was at the washing machine or at the clothesline or something. And I had a great time. And I remember being really embarrassed one day. The little boy over the road came over and he sat with me, and he just sat when they said, now stand up and skip around the room. So I was skipping around the room. He said, you don't have to do that, you know. And I was like, oh, yes, I do. It says on the radio. And then I thought, how ridiculous not doing it. It's called Let's Join In or something, you know. So, but it was very imaginative, and you know, we were moving to music and being a tree and all sorts of things. And going to Dalcroze Summer School was like deja vu for me. I've got big gaps. I don't have any formal Dalcroze accreditation. I'm just a musician who remembers a really, really early musical experience I had. So that was formative, really, in my love of and connection of movement and music. So yeah,
so
I
wonderful.
think Yeah.
So
maybe cutting out the visual might be something to think of. Just listen and turn the cameras off and be a tree, and then you're not worried about how you look being a tree.
Right.
I don't know.
Helen, where are you located?
I'm in Perth, Western Australia.
Oh yeah.
And
yep.
Yeah.
And so were some of those radio shows the Heather Gel?
Yes, it was Heather Gel. Yeah, it was Heather Gel on the radio.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
And so for anybody tuning in or watching the recording of this, we've had a number of meetups where we've focused on Heather Gel and talked a bit about the radio shows there and in England that were so popular and really virtual. I mean, it was really the same, so much of the same types of things that we've been trying to do the last 2 years. They're really so interesting. Thank you. Jennifer, did you want to add something there?
Oh, I was just going to mention that the kind of, I think what led Helen to speak up about that is we were talking about the difficulty of leading students through exercises and they're alone and they're singing and they're alone in their homes. And I think Helen was just sort of offering like, well, that could be okay. Like, I loved it. So, it depends on so many different things. It depends on the family situation, the age of the child, and the child's interests. But I think that was just sort of a positive contribution, like, that could be okay, actually. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate that so much. I think one of my big takeaways of the VDM has just been how, especially at the beginning, I think we all just felt like, how will we ever survive anything ever again? And then coming to this community and hearing anybody say, oh, what are you talking about? I do that all the time. Or that's really no big deal. Or watch me pull this off. Or I've been doing this thing that you think is completely impossible. And I'll show you how effortlessly and how not stressed I am about doing it, has just opened so much for me and calmed me down in so many ways and made me think and realize how many things are actually quite possible. And I need to stop freaking out and just get on with the work, for goodness sakes. So thank you, Helen, and thank you, Jennifer. I think that all sounded like one room. Anybody from the other room want to tell us a little bit of what was going on over there? Who will say stuff?
Students' emotional needs and maybe some of the Dalcroze tools that we could bring. And I am feeling really inspired by something that Suming shared just about a long chain of students and that they had to like stay together and not yank on each other and not break the chain, and that there was a lot of like that they could do with spinning and turning and also passing through underneath her bridge, or she could pass between them, and that the rule is if the chain breaks and the game's over, you have to go back into the classroom, because I think this was in some hallway. And I think it's not a game that is in my repertoire, and I'm not sure that I can do it yet because I don't know if we're okay to hold hands yet, but it just like gets my mind thinking and like, okay, I have my things that are really familiar and comfortable for me that I always go to, and it makes me think about, okay, like how can I take an idea from this and just change something just so that I stay engaged, right? Because if I don't feel like I'm discovering something or I really care about how this turns out, it's hard to convey that to my students.
Very good. When you started to just describe it, I thought you were speaking of a literal chain, like that all the children. And so I was picturing the chain was useful because it socially distanced everybody. It was the way to be together and to feel the connection and yet not be right up against each other.
Well, there you go.
And then I
think I'm going to go to the hardware store this weekend.
Right? And so then I was picturing like metal chains and trying to picture like metal chains with children. And then you said,
so basically I'm going to put the kids on a leash. Like I'm going to have one of those leash situations with like 17 handholds, like in preschool.
Yeah. But then you said, but then the chain would break. If it breaks, then you have to go in. So then I was picturing a paper chain, like where we had like looped together pieces of paper. And now we have to be so gentle because it would tear so easily. And how much attention was that? So I don't know. You have my brain,
awesome.
You have my brain cooking.
Cool.
All sorts of things. What else? What other things did we get into? Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
In response to the first question, a lot of us talked about not pushing the students too much and not being so focused on like the material and what are we educating them, like just kind of having more fun and that being a really important part because a lot of the students are under more stress now. And if we try and push more, it's not going in. So we might as well let them have an enjoyable experience and let whatever sink in and create a beautiful experience for them.
Which I mean, I've always thought was really so much the root of the Dalcrozian experience anyway. And that whenever we're in these sort of more traditional public school types of settings, these classroom settings with principles and agendas that are outside of the Dalcrozian attention, I've often felt that there were sort of competing goals at play in those rooms, where there is this one idea of we have to, whatever the version of teach to the test is, or demonstrate somebody's objectives written on a board, versus, actually what is appropriate for the children today. What do these children need today? Which I have forever deeply felt is the sort of Dalcrozian sort of allegiance. My allegiance is to be on the hook in the moment, attending to the needs of these students, regardless of what I'm hoping to get to by the end of the year. And then having to sort of compromise or push that against then, no, the school has claimed or has asked me to claim what will we do by some certain date, regardless of what they were ready for. And so it's such a mix. Someone else. Yeah, go ahead, Helen.
Stephen, that really resonated with me because as a private teacher, I often get students who want to have, their parents want them to apply for a scholarship or win an award or pass an audition. And they'll say, do you think in 3 years' time, will they be able to be at this level? And I said, I have no idea. And I sort of draw the analogy between what size shoes will they be in 3 years' time? You just don't know how fast they're going to grow. And I said, a kid can be working hard and it can go, it's not like education isn't like a straight line. It can be, things ferment for a while, but it should be child-centered and schools should be, looking to child-centered. But I've got such a privilege working one-to-one with kids, and it's so, different children at different stages will take different amount of time to get to a different level. It doesn't mean that they're any better because they're at a higher level musically. That's the other thing, is that you might think, are you in 7th grade? I mean, we've got examination boards and things like that. And I'm actually an examiner as well. So, I'm not saying throw standards out the windows, but I think that creative side and looking at where the child is and are their needs being met is number one.
Yeah, I love the shoe size analogy. That's great. I'll totally steal that. Nice job. Something else. What else was getting into in either of the rooms? What sorts of things, or what was begun that you'd like to ask more questions, or what didn't the one room solve that you can ask of the other room? Oh, yes, swimming. Oh, you're muted. Let's try again. Unmute.
We talk about how to get, the social needs at the, like how to get their attention at the beginning, and also feeling connected with other people in the learning situation. So there's some ideas that come out, like I think that we say the same thing is like, how do we know the suicides, that how big they are later on? So it's like we have to look at the moment of them, right? So so we have to treat them like a total beginner. Like, don't have expectations of you've been with them for a long time or what, but just because then they are, and then we can respond to it and to their needs, attending to their needs. And also about more multimedia, multi-way of senses stimulation, like maybe using more painting, more sounds, more movement. So it's many ways of rather than just one way.
Yeah, very good.
yeah, anything the other would like to put?
I'm actually curious if anyone has a favorite game that has been really successful for them recently. I think Veronica was asking a little bit about what has been working or not working, because behavior does seem to be, and also in my classes, a little bit all over the map because so many things are changing every week for so many of these students. And so, I have my old favorites, but I feel sometimes like I'm like, okay, what else do I have that's going to really help us start working together right now and really listening together right now?
I recently tried a game that's just a very simple song that basically is da dee dee da dee dee da, and then and then at the end of the da da dee da dee da da, and how I sing it, so, make up some words for it, and then I have to, and then the second phrase I go one silence basically after the first phrase finishes, and then we have to count in 7 in silence. And then at the end, very quick, that 1, 2, 3, and then we have to make, we have to, so after the silence. So I found that is really useful because then the silence, they have to hold the attention for a short period of time, and then they have to quickly react to it. And then after they learn the song well, and then I can use that silence to do many things, that counting bit. So that is clap your hand, and then stamp your feet, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we go 1, 2, 3, or something like that. Something that within the song that has something that I can use to create lots of ideas that they can do, or make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They can suggest different gesture that they do during their time, but they have to stop and then start, and just one idea.
Very good.
Yeah, I stole like a counting idea from one of my students in pedagogy, and like I'm finding everybody was saying, well, like Emma was talking about behaviors a little more all over the place, and I was like, and then one of my students who's also a student of Ruth said that she just goes 1, 2, 3 crisscross. She'll just do this simple command, and everybody does it. Like I was having so much trouble. Or 1, 2, 3 legs in front. 1, 2, 3 this, to get them into a position. And because that count, they just do it. And it's not like you're not sitting. There's none of that in it. 1, 2, but 1, 2, 3 stand like a tree. 1, 2. I did it for lots of different things, and I stole it. But it's really I do it all the time, and it's super effective. They're really, they just respond to it. They immediately, whatever's going on, they immediately do whatever I said after 1, 2, 3. And I just wanted to ask one more thing. Today was a final class of one of mine. And like, we're not supposed to be too close together, right? And the one little boy said his favorite activity was come into the circle, where you hold hands. And I almost feel like I shouldn't do that. But that was the first request. Can we do that one? And then, because I'm always like making them go all over the room, I have like little signals to sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle all around or whatever. And I'm always trying to keep them apart. But there's that one time where we get together, and that was the first request, which it shows that craving,
Yeah.
We want to be together,
Can you say more about the sprinkle thing? That sounds awesome.
I probably, again, I still.
You just tell them to sprinkle themselves around the room?
I'll go the piano, I go like sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle all around. And I play like E, I think I play at A major, like E, C sharp, D, B, whatever, really high. And then I say, remember, sprinkles on a cupcake. Like, you don't want to be near each other. And sprinkles the ice cream, and then you sprinkle around, and like, you're too close. And I'll draw, like if they do the sprinkles on, they're too close, I draw on the board, and I'm like, would you want your cupcake to have all the sprinkles here?
That's awesome. I think my 4-year-olds need that inspiration, because
they like it.
They will not go for the be safe and move away and stop running into each other.
Well, I tried dots one day to keep them apart. I'm like, I'm never doing that.
You just pick them off the carpet. It's awful.
It was like, this is awful. What was I thinking?
So funny. I saw Sky had your hand up here just a minute ago.
So this is a solfege game, and I do it virtual. I'm virtual, so it's virtual, but I'm sure you can do it in person however you want to do what I'm going to say. Anyway, so you've got your whatever solfege you're working out, and you have your target phrase, And so if you, the teachers, say any phrase, they sing it back. Of course I can't hear them, but I have to do hand signs and, you know, just to make sure to see what they're doing. Anyway, except for the like poison melody, if that's what it's called in other things. So then if it's the poison melody, the one that's like the, you know, we decide ahead of time, they get out of their camera angle. So if I do that one, they run away. And then if they do any other, if I do any other one, they have to copy it back. And it's, they love it. And then you can also do that with rhythm, or, you know, take that and run with it. But that one, they do ask for that. So I'm like, okay, I can't forget that they like that.
Nice. That's a great one. Well, you know, as this goes, you see that we have only 2 minutes left. It seems like we just barely got started. And so I hope everybody will feel lots of interest in coming back and telling other people to join. I just want to say that when we were planning tonight and trying to think how are we going to organize it, this idea of routine came up. And I think, I don't remember what our exact conversation was, but this idea that students are kind of all over the place. There's been so much change. There's been so many things up and down. We don't even know day to day if school is in or school is home. You know, like here in Pittsburgh, the public schools, like this whole last month has been really day to day. I wonder if they'll have us come to school today, or I wonder if we're supposed to be virtual from home. That's been like an almost daily question because of Omicron and all of that. And what, of course, is the predictable result in our students is just that they're like, you know, there's nothing grounding them. And so, of course, behavior things are more wilder. And you know, we just know from being in the schools all these years that it just leaves all of us too, feeling unsettled. And what we're just looking for is some kind of grounding. And so the idea of the routine, which is just another way of saying what is dependable, what is it that we can just know, we can just trust in? What can we kind of, in what way can I predict my future so that I don't have to constantly be in fight or flight kind of mode? But I just know, no, I'm going to go to there and this is going to happen. And so I don't need to worry about what that is going to be. And that's always, of course, been a part of all, I would say all good teachers training and you know, the ways that we structure our classrooms is that there's always some element of routine. And I just thought we were just discussing and thinking, yeah, it'd be good to just discuss that a little bit. And so I'm really happy to hear the things that were brought up tonight, and I'm left wanting more. Absolutely. So I can promise you, I'll be back because I want to hear a little bit more. We're at time. Veronica, do we have? How do we want to close out tonight? Is there a closing announcement or two?
See you at Joan Pope's masterclass.
You got to register though, or you won't get the link. So you gotta sign up. We're crazy excited about getting to hang with Joan for an extended amount of time. We'll have 90 minutes with Joan all together, and so I hope that you'll join us live if at all possible. And if not, of course, you can always watch the recording afterward. We've got so Joan is coming up, and then Jack and Isa will be masterclassing, and then we have a nice roster of meetups here for this from now through spring. If you have yet to subscribe to the VDM calendar, it's really the easiest way to both get the dates, but also have them automatically adjust to your time zone. And so the easiest way to kind of know exactly what time it's going to be in your time zone is to just subscribe, and then the internets will adjust it all for you, and you don't have to worry that you don't have to worry like me that you've somehow messed up the move around. I had one last thing I wanted to share with everybody. I bumped into this article just earlier today, and Dalcos Yurniks is mentioned in it. We get one line in this national level article. I'm talking about sort of all the different ways that people are trying to make music happen in these times. And so I thought you all would enjoy just seeing some of the things that are cited there. So we're at time. It's great to see you all. Please come back. Please register for the master classes and send us a note and let us know how we can continue to craft these meetups in a way that really meets the needs. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night,
Stephen.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Great seeing you.
Bye, everybody.